Hello, and welcome to our episode of Todd Talks and Todd Talks. People, listen.
Yeah, you should totally listen to Todd. Don't you understand? It's Todd Talk. Boomsticks.com.
Yeah, I am joined today by the Boomstick U2s. Sadly, not one with the golden leg. What's wrong with having a regular boomstick leg? Shut up. I am the whiz in this scenario, and you will listen to me. Like heck, I will. Anyway, I can't do a boomstick voice. Of all the voices I can do, I can't do a boomstick voice. I just don't. I can do deep voices, don't get me wrong, but I can't do boomstick voice because there's only one boomstick. Yes, we know. We know. All right, so over here. So hello, everyone, and I hope you are ready for the nice holiday season and the beginning of the new year. I am here to do my end of year video, which obviously we did not do at the end of 2024 because we only had 4 episodes. Oops. So I thought it would be best just to wait until the end of 2025 to do my year recap and see how I did in my picks. Also, if you hadn't seen, I actually wrote out my rankings of all the 16 episode indie era battles, and it's on the Outer Haven, but I also have it in the description and in the comments, and I am letting you all know first, technically, that by the time this video goes live, that I'm doing a whole bunch of death battle features, as I mentioned before. My first one was ranking the indie era episodes, which I have done, and I had a lot of great response, so thank you for viewing it, and if not, again, click the links and go check it out. My second one is live right now as of the publishing of this video, and it's listing the 15 greatest death battle tracks. And I even asked you all for some of your picks on what you thought were the best tracks. And some of them indeed did make the list. So again, check that out in the links below. All right? So with that, let us now look back into the far reaches of October 2024 and start our list, or not the listing, but the tally. There we go, the tally of my success or failure. I actually thought that the final results were quite interesting. So first up was Omni-Man Bardock, also known as the "Do you believe the solar disk theory?" I got flack on that, even with the list that I did. It's he explained this. No, they really didn't. It was there was a lot. I accidentally triggered an argument on Brandon Yates' Discord about the solar disk because I was asking for feedback, and this guy goes, "Yeah, I know why you said that, but no, they totally didn't," and it started the whole thing. I was like, "Woo!" People have still not gotten over that. I picked Bardock because I thought Super Saiyan Bardock would be included, which I was right, and that it would matter, which it technically did. But with the solar disk defeat, it was complicated. So Omni-Man won 2-0 in Death Battle, and that was not the best way to start the year. However, second matchup was Joker Giorno. I think this will go down as one of the best 2D sprite fights we've ever seen. There's just so much going on with it. It's so much fun. Requiem for a Thief was an amazing track. Shout out to my dear friend Series, who was the singer on that episode, and or singer for the track, singer for the episode. But there's a lot of fun there. The DJ bringing in the shot with pancakes, and Joker hearing all the social bonds pulling him through. That was an amazing shot. Perhaps you didn't hear me. Checkmate. I really do like that episode. That's why I ranked it highly on my list. But I picked Joker, and so that was my first win of the indie era. So I was like, yeah. Next up was Bowser Eggman. Yeah, this one was tough. Even back then, we were like, what are they going to include? Will they include this? Will they include that? It was really a question of where was things bound. Like, some people didn't think Paper Mario would be included. Then Death Battle made it clear via their caption box that it would. So it was very much a case of, just how far do we scale? Do we believe this could happen? How do the generals factor into things? How do the armies factor into things? And of course, we got the masterpiece of an episode Ironically, this was my the prediction video for Bowser Eggman had over 1,000 views. It's one of my most viewed Todd Talks, and I was very happy about that. Can we get back to that, please? I like having over 1,000 views. I kid mostly, but yeah, that was a fun one as one of my all times. Like if you look at my rankings list for the indie era, I'm pretty sure you can guess what Bowser Eggman's gonna be. I won't spoil it though. Wink. But yeah, it's peak. It's so peak. Even in the course of like all my like if you remember the list I did right before the indie era came out, I did the new rankings of my top 10 favorite death battles. It took one viewing of Bowser Eggman to go, yeah, I need to change my list again. I'm gonna wait a few years because we need more content. Because right now, if I'm being generous, I could probably put 2 or 3 from the indie era alone into my list. I would feel comfortable with that. Yeah, I would feel comfortable with that. So I'll leave you to guess what the other 2 are. So yeah. Was on a 2-win streak, and then we had Among Us Fall Guys. Oh my gosh, this episode. Shout out Larry Inwood. You got your dream battle buddy. And you got to work on it. Still very proud of you. I mentioned him in the list because I wanted to shout out as many people in the Death Battle community as possible. But yeah, this was one of those episodes where it was. I don't want to say it wasn't the joke episode because it clearly wasn't. Because they took it seriously. As seriously as I could. But they also had a lot of fun with it. Like, the whole 2020, there was a viral sensation. Yeah, I know there was, guys. And going from there, talking about the anatomy of the Fall Guys and the Among Us imposters. Boomstick losing it at the end of the Fall Guys thing. Are we about to unleash a terror in this world? A world full of unstoppable beans? Yeah, pretty much. Great, let's let them fight. Again, I can't do the boomstick. How would I go? It's time. Nope, that's too deep. Sorry, boomstick. I failed you, Chat James. I'm so sorry. Please still hire me. But yeah, that was a very fun episode, very funny episode, because it starts out again with the Among Us style, then it goes Fall Guys style, then it just goes, no, we're gonna go super galactic, killing every planet we come across, and then the brutal murder rage at the end with the crown. Good times. So yeah, so in the first 4 episodes of the indie era, I was 2-2, literally. So here's my 2 losses and here's my 2 wins. See, symmetry. But then we jumped to 2025, where our first one was Kratos Asura, an episode we still talk about today, not necessarily for the positive reasons. And for those who haven't read my list, yes, I did address certain controversies with key episodes like Kratos Asura. I was respectful with every single one, explaining my personal feelings and how I know some of you in the community felt. So, yeah, I did my best to be tactful. Well, it still was a beautiful episode, but it was underwhelming. I think most of us can agree on that. I was actually talking again on the Brandon Yates Discord. I was talking with some people, and they're like, "Yeah, these dialogue lines didn't make sense, and the animation didn't feel right." And so, like these, much like Bauseg is like the peak, and we could talk about that forever. When you have one you feel like could have been even more or even grander, that sticks with you. And that was Kratos Asura in many ways. And this wasn't even like a matchup that I personally wanted. It was one that I knew the community wanted. And then when it loses twice in a row in the champions polls in the Tournament of Champions, welcome to the Tournament of Champions. That matters. And it's like, okay, we're finally getting it. And it's like, ah! Okay, look at my list for my full breakdown. But I did call Kratos getting that one right. Next up was Ghost Rider Spawn. One of the... how do I want to define that? One of the episodes where you're like, oh, they're doing Ghost Rider Spawn. And then you watch the episodes like, yeah, Ghost Rider Spawn. Welcome to hell, mother... Yeah, no. Like, that episode was so much fun. Another one where you can say, like, this is one of the greatest 2D sprite fights ever done. They went full tilt on the visuals, on the writing. Well, I'll be danged. Yes, you will. The vestments of the holy cannot disguise your wickedness. God forbid. I love as a writer, that speaks to me. You know, like that's why you do this kind of thing. You know, like that's like, oh, so good. But yeah, I called Spawn. That was another close one because you're like, how do you determine? Because Ghost Rider can only die a certain way, as I noted in my prediction video, and Spawn's pretty broken himself. I picked Spawn, but for the wrong reasons. I didn't think that the penance stare would work on Johnny because I hadn't, I guess, looked into the more recent ones where Danny had to use it against him. But I still won, so win streak there. Next one was Shigaraki Mahito, the second Moro fight. Yeah, props, of course, to Moro for Bao's sake. He was incredible in that. And then we're like, oh, he's doing Shigaraki Mahito. That's interesting. And then with all the hands things and... Yeah, that was definitely something. It was very. I saw some people on the Death Battle Discord talking about this one today, and it got a lot of. Apparently, it's like the Jujutsu Kaisen people, like they really love their crew, so like they're gonna always show up for the death battles for them. So I'm like, hey, whatever gets them the views, right? So maybe we'll see another Jujutsu Kaisen fight in 2026. Who knows? But this one was a lot of fun visually. Again, working in all the hand aesthetics had to have been taxing for Moro. If you don't know, in the artist world, like legit, hands are like the worst thing to draw, just because of like how they move and you know you have to the angles and all that. So now imagine drawing all the hands for domain expansion and all that, and then Shigaraki's hands for decay and so on and so forth. So that had to be a lot, but it worked out. It looked amazing. My only complaint about that one was that it felt short. It wasn't. It was a little over 3 minutes long, but it felt short. So another win there. Next up, Chief Slayer. I think this one's going to be a little more underrated. And ironically, this was the episode that had the ads for the Boomstick U2s. And then you were cut out of those episodes, weren't you? Well, I didn't ask for it. Shut up. So, such a talkative plushie. But for the record, this is quality. Like, it took forever to get this, but... I'm going to call this quality. Yeah, I'm going to call it quality. It's very nice. It's going to go right up next to my Eevee and my other plushies in my room. So, and yes, I have an Eevee plushie. It's adorable. I should have brought... No, Ash doesn't have an Eevee. I was going to say I could have brought it up during the Ash video, but Ash doesn't have an Eevee. Which is odd, because a lot of his companions did. Anyway. I liked Chief Slayer. I thought this was, of the Devil Artemis episodes in the indie era, I thought this was his best. It had a lot of fun, epic moments, the dig at Microsoft for the secret level thing that never happened. You know, it's Chief Slayer fighting demons in hell. Ghost Rider and Spawn watching in the background was a nice touch by DA. And then one of my all-time favorite kills, period. Cortana going, Chief, you still with me? And I go, no. And then I'm going along the chain, siren blaring, seeing it in first person before Doomslayer just like rips and tears. That was a great death. And I picked Doomslayer to win, much like I picked Shigaraki for the last one. So I had a 4-win streak. And then an episode came called Simone versus Kyle. Yeah. Well, many of you felt this was like top 5, top 3. I won't say where it was on my rankings. Just go click the link below to find out where it is on my rankings. But this was a passion project for many on the crew, including John Mitchell, who does the storyboards and the cover art for many of the album tracks. This took a while. I think one of my favorite things about this episode was how they had to break down who won because they couldn't do it in their standard thing, like strength, durability, skill, and all that. They couldn't do that because of how broken Simone the Digger and Kyle Rayner is, especially in their peak forms. I remember going into this fight and watching Gurren Lagann, and I'm watching, and I'm like, why do they think he's going to do anything against Kyle? Like, 19 episodes in, I'm watching this and like, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a cool mech, but what is Simone going to do against the Lantern? And then, like, the last 5 episodes just cranked it up to anime oblivion. I'm like, okay, now we're going somewhere. But this was the most unique verdict I ever came to for this indie era because I abstained. I had no idea who won. I really didn't, because Green Lantern powers are broken, and White Lanterns are above them. And then there was the catch of, Simone being universal, if not multiversal, with his power because of the mind labyrinth that the Energy Spiral put him through, plus just the overwhelming boost that his willpower gives Gurren Lagann. So I was just like, I'm not calling this. I'm not going to risk my winning streak for this. And I was right, because I might have picked Kyle just because DC Heralds are broken, but no, Simone was the victor. And they did a really cool job with the battle animation and the track, Spiral of Emotion, and it was one that many of you really, really liked. So see where that ranks on my music list in the link below. But yeah, that very fun episode. Glad I abstained, because I totally wouldn't have called it right, probably. Next up, Wily Tom, another one I think deserves even more credit and due. This felt like a Looney Tunes episode or Tom and Jerry episode, and that's like the best compliment I can give it in the most meaningful way. Because it's just saying, like, oh, hey, let's have Wily and Tom fight each other. Like, no, we got to make it as loony as possible. I love that they did the subtitle naming. I love that they did, like, numerous references and gags to all the Looney Tunes. And Tom and Jerry, I love that they did the fourth wall break with the YouTube thing. I don't think they've done that since Pinkie Pie Deadpool. So that's been a while. Chuck Jones. I love that they did the Chuck Jones reference. It's like, he's getting nerfed by God. And by God, we mean the closest thing to God in the Looney Tunes universe, Chuck Jones. I was like, yes! Because I looked that up for my preview video, because I found the Chuck Jones rules. And I actually thought that was a reason why Wily would lose, but sure enough, Wily got the victory because of Space Jam. Heck yeah! What can you say? Like, he won because of Space Jam. I never would have thought of that. Because he did. Because I even can see in my head one of the Monstars going for a dunk, and Wily had rigged the basket with dynamite. And the Monstar goes, nicely done, Wily, says Bugs. Yes, nicely done indeed. So I took the L, but I took it happily, because yeah, that was a great episode. Next up was, this was arguably the biggest turnaround from why is this an episode to, oh my god, this is an episode. And that's Miles versus Deku. Because I remember vividly when it was announced, I and so many others like, this is the episode they're doing next? Really? And I can understand I still understand the backlash to this day, because I looked it up, and at that time, Miles Asta wasn't even 3 years old, and then Miles Static was 5 years old. So it felt like a kind of a too soon kind of thing. And then we can add in like Omni-Man, who had been there like only a few years prior as well. It was like, really? We're bringing them back so soon? And then they were like, oh, Moro's going to animate it. And we're like, oh, that's going to look cool in 2D. Moro went absolute cinema with his visuals, and it was, for me, the most visually stunning death battle ever. Like, even more than Goku Superman and 3 and Baoseg and some of the others that are like really high ranked, because this one just looked and felt like a totally different vibe. He crushed it. He absolutely, the camera angles and the visual effects, how Miles and Deku interacted with each other. Now, I do know somebody who would totally disagree with me on this and think that it's not really that good. And remember, that's important, because your opinion does matter as long as you don't beat people over the head with it. And my friend, he explained why he didn't like this episode. I understood it, and we moved on. Happy days. But I did pick Deku to win, so I was back in the win column until the next episode, Hulkzilla. Yeah. The most divisive episode of the indie era so far. Can an episode that hasn't been released yet be divisive? Because if we're going to go that route, I'm going to say Lazan. But, yeah, Hulkzilla was one that, didn't check my list for all my full thoughts, but not my favorite by far. Yeah, and it's not even for like, oh, because you picked Zilla to win, right? You wanted Godzilla to win. I did want Godzilla to win, but especially after learning about Ultima and how broken that thing is. But just certain things of how they handled it, I didn't like how certain things went down the battle animation, especially with Ultima. But then when I did my list, my rankings list, I rewatched every episode. And this was like the first time in a long time I had watched Hulkzilla because of my feelings towards it. But I'm like, no, just buck up, watch it again. And I'm not saying the verdict was wrong. It was not. I don't feel it was. I feel they did a great job explaining why it was right, but I didn't like how they portrayed it in the battle. And that's like half the thing right there. So, not my favorite. I took the L. Let's just move on. To the 200th episode of Death Battle Ruby Maka. The complete antithesis of Hulkzilla, in my opinion, because this was beautiful. This was Luis's first 3D death battle. He did it not all on his own, but like he led the animation and everything. A testament to how great Luis is. He never wanting to stay stagnant. He's like, no, I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep going. And I'm like, you go, sir. You rock. So this was a beautiful episode, wonderfully done, wonderfully voiced. I was actually even having an argument with somebody over this because, like, but that ending, I'm like, the ending was fine, especially because this happens. He goes, no, this isn't how that works. Like, and then someone else goes, no, actually, it is how it works, and here's the proof. It's, classic Death Battle community debate. But it made me cry. I'm not gonna lie. The song "Death in Bloom" was amazing. And then when Ruby dies and we hear "I wish that she could see me now," I'm just like, oh, Monty. Yeah, that affected me hard. But my favorite 3D battle of the actually, can I say that now? Because of Ash Yugi? It probably was. Before Ash Yugi, it was my favorite 3D battle of the indie era. I just thought it was that beautiful. So props to all who worked on that. That was a great one. You did Monty proud for sure. You weren't sold out.
His name is Soul Evans.
All right. Next up was a key surprise of the year: Blade, Buffy, Ismahawk. Can't praise them enough for all they did with that episode. Like the little details to make it shine, all the weapons, the actors coming in. It was a really good one. Like I gush about it in my list, so again, go look at it below. But this episode is elevated because of just how much passion Ismahawk, Danny Shepard, and everyone who worked on it was like, okay, how can we do even more? Let's do Vampire Rave to start, and then we need to have Blade and Buffy teaming together, and then they're against each other, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then we need to have this one guy on set because he has this really cool camera that gives spinning shots, and it's like they went full tilt. And they were in a club called Disco Pissy. That's never going to get old. Never going to get old at all. But I took the L because I thought Blade would win. Because, again, you always think Marvel and DC scaling is going to trump just about everything. But Buffy is just that broken. We got ahead of ourselves. So, yeah, I took the L there. Next up, Dante Clive. This was the Torian episode. Visually magnificent. All right, and I know I said I like Ruby Maka more, but if we're talking about just pure visual insanity, this episode was that. Torian went full tilt. This is why we love Torian. All right, and this is why we miss Torian, because he's like, yeah, I can do Dante versus Clive. Oh, I'm gonna bring in a whole bunch of other people and just completely destroy anything that doesn't even come close to looking like mine. That's not fair, obviously, but such a great one. I apparently, as I noted in my list, during a recent fireside chat, DJ Tiki, the editor, noted that this was the longest debated episode about who would win. The researchers apparently talked for about 12 hours trying to figure out who wins between Dante and Clive, which is definitely not what people thought going into this. So I picked Clive on a whim. I'm not afraid to admit that because I saw the article from the Final Fantasy 16 combat director or whatever, And he's like, yeah, Dante wouldn't be able to beat Clive. And so I'm just like, you know what? That guy has such gumption to say that. I'm picking Clive. So I did. I won. It was awesome. Which, of course, leads us to the final episode of the year, Ash Yugi. Oh, my childhood. Yeah.
Quick, Wiz, I need your tears. We can save him.
Tears. I did cry, and so there were tears to be had. I did cry during the episode, much like I did with Ruby Maka. I mean, what can you say? The team went so insanely detailed and in depth with this, from the breakdowns to the fight to the results page. It clearly had so much fun. I know I keep saying I want to work for Death Battle, but should I ever get that honor and they say, what episode would you have wanted to work on? That's the one. I mean, all due respect to Ruby, all due respect to, like, you know, Bowser Eggman and all the others, Ash Yugi would have been one. Like, I would have been like, hey, can we throw this reference in here? You know, I would have definitely fought for a Serena reference, which we got. I would have been like, hey, let's make sure this monster is in here or this trap card is in here. And, you know, I would have said, like, you know, we need to have Yugi shouting this when this monster is summoned and all that. Such a beautiful episode. Can you believe it's already been 2 weeks since that happened? It's hard to believe. Please go and rewatch it. We need to get it to 2 million and more. I'm stunned it's not at past 2 million right now. So, such a beautiful thing. I absolutely cried when the white screen is happening in front of Ash, and you could tell Pikachu is worried, and he just puts the hat on him. I was like, let's finish this together, buddy. And you're like, for that moment, you think he's gonna win. I did. I was like, is Ash actually gonna pull this out? How is that possible? Like, let's just roll with it. Come on, Ash. But I picked Yugi. I did. I knew Yugi had it, but it's just the way that I'm crying just thinking about this. Oh my gosh. But the way they framed it was so beautiful. And I love in the results, they point out something I didn't even think about, which is Yugi can summon back his monsters easily. When you KO a Pokemon, they're done, especially in the anime, because they don't use revives the same way, which Ash doesn't need carry. So that was a clever way of thinking about it, where, you know, especially with Soul Galea being his ace, that's cool, but if he's gone, then the ace is out, and then you got everybody else. And as much as powerful as certain Pokemon are, Ash doesn't have all those Pokemon. And so the moment they go down, that limits what he can do. And I really appreciated them breaking it down like that. And they could have even gone further with things like Yugi's penalty games. Like, that's something I was surprised they didn't do with him saying, like, oh, what if Ash threw hands? Then Yugi would declare that a penalty, because that's not something you do in Duel Monsters. So it's like,
For your mind, Ash.
Wouldn't that imply he has a mind to free? No. So, great episode. Very tactful death for Ash and his Pokemon. Great stuff. So, yeah. It's been a good season. So, what is my tally? 16 episodes across the indie era. I had 10 wins, 5 losses, and 1 abstention. I'm actually proud that I've only had 2 abstentions in my career, and the second one was the Mega Man Battle Royal, which I'm so glad I did, because that was a lot. But yeah, 10, 5, and 1. I'm proud of that. I really am. And with that, this year of Todd Talk has come to a close. Will I do a predictions video for 2026? I probably will. I have no idea what to guess outside of the guaranteed Kickstarter ones. We have like Aang, Traveler, and Guru Megamind. But it's going to be fun. And I will do my best to maybe pull you to see what happens. Now, again, go look in the description and the comments to see my 2 lists that I already have up for you to view. And for my third one, which will not come out next Sunday, but the Sunday after, to respect the holiday season, my third list that I'm going to do is the best death battle moments. Not battles, not victories, moments. So I want you to think about, what are the moments that you felt define death battle, period. Like, and it could be anything within the episode. All right, so it could be something that was in the breakdowns, it could be something that was in the battle, the verdict, whatever it is. It just has to be tied to death battle. What was the moment that you felt was the best? I'll give you one example because it's obviously going to be on there. Goku versus Superman 3, as cheesy as it is, it's one of my favorites. When they do the in this moment beat with Goku charging up the Kamehameha and Superman going through the sun, that clash moment where, like, you know, he's charging up and you see the glow over him and then Superman coming out golden through the sun, that's an epic moment. All right? It's not the battle, it's a moment, and that's awesome. So, let me know those in the comments below, as well as what was your favorite battle of the indie era? What was your favorite music track of the indie era? And again, what are your favorite moments from death battle history? Let me know in the comments below. So, I thank you for watching. If you made it as far, I know you were listening,
And I'll see you around.